What's going on YouTube? My name is Alex from Team Crushing the Meta, and as a Genesis main I have to talk about the new Regalia cards that have been revealed. I am not entirely sure how good this deck will be, but at least I think it will be very fun. And it's just good in general that Bushiroad just keeps supporting mechanics that haven't been supported that well in the past. This is now more or less of a complete deck, so that's always good in my book. With that said, let's go over the cards, let's see what we have. The grade 3 here is Regalia of Wisdom Angelica, and I'm going to go by the skills one by one. So the first skill is Continuous on Vanguard Circle. All of your rearguards with Divine Gauge cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects and get power plus 5000. So this has been a skill that we've seen before on Artemis, for example. It is a little bit less powerful because Artemis of course will give the trigger effect that it gains itself to other rearguards with the Divine Gauge. This will be a little bit more powerful, but I think in general this card will be better because of its other two skills, and it is pretty acceptable, especially the fact that we retain the skill that everything with the Divine Gauge cannot be chosen by card effects is going to be very important now. But first, the second skill, Auto on Vanguard Circle again. When it attacks, choose up to 2 of your rear guards and put up to 1 card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for each of those units. So this is pretty good, I think. It's essentially a very easy way to get 2 more Divine Gauges onto your rear guards. It's costless, so that's always good. The big problem with this deck is going to be in general that you have to soul charge quite a bit because the Divine Gauges come from your soul, so you will need to keep that in mind when you're going to build your deck. Nevertheless, this is a very good way to get your Divine Gauges, especially when we now go to the final skill this card has, which is Auto on Vanguard Circle. At the end of your opponent's turn, discard 5 Divine Gauge and heal a card from your damage zone. So we've essentially gone Angel Feather now. I like Angel Feather as well, so I think it's a neat skill. The heal is a little bit on the slow side. I would have liked to see it in the end of my own turn, of course. Maybe you can get a little bit of a discount counter charge from it. And you have to survive your opponent's turn now to even benefit from this, but at least there's quite a bit nice of an end game to the Divine Gauge mechanic in general. It's just the continuous effect that it gains was not enough to really warrant playing it. Now you can actually do something with it, and the fact that your rearguards cannot be chosen by opponent's card effects is now very important because you want to keep those Divine Gauges on the field, and you can now. So let's see how this deck will shape up when the cards come out, and when I've done a little bit of testing I will be getting a deck profile by then. It will take a couple of months of course, so be on the lookout for that. Then let's go to the grade 2, which is Demon Exorcism Regalia Thrud. The first skill is Auto Rearguard Circle. When placed, you may put a card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge for this unit. So again, very easy way, straightforward way to get more Divine Gauges on the field, just on place. Completely fine with this. The nice thing about it is it will turn itself into a booster when you have Yggdrasil on the field, and Yggdrasil is of course the Vanguard and Rearguard skill, giving everything with Divine Gauge boost. So this will automatically trigger for this Thrud unit. And then we go to the second skill, which is also pretty nice in conjunction with another card. This is Auto Rearguard Circle. At the end of the battle it attacks or boosted, this unit has 1 or more Divine Gauge, and move all of this unit's Divine Gauges to another rearguard, put this unit into the soul and draw a card. So Ulysses has been a very popular Genesis card since the V-Series came out, and this is essentially the same thing. It's always nice to be able to cycle, fuel your soul, draw a card in the process. That's pretty good already. The fact that you can move your Divine Gauge to another unit will be very handy where you're going to play the old grade 2 Artemis, because that card will gain 10k with each Divine Gauge that's already on it. Plus, it will also gain the boost from Yggdrasil. And usually, especially with the fact that they cannot be targeted, it will mean that you will have a booster on your back row that will get more powerful and more powerful if you want to. Of course, you're going to need your Divine Gauges if you want to do the heal, but you could also choose to just keep adding the Divine Gauges to that grade 2 Artemis with cards like this one, and just have a couple of very powerful attacks from it. Do keep in mind the line in the cost that says this unit has one or more Divine Gauge is you need to have the Divine Gauge if you want to use the Ulysses type skill of putting it into the soul and drawing from it. So keep that in mind. Of course, it will be very easy because the Divine Gauge is already added on place. Then the Grade 1 Regalia is Oblation Regalia Var. The first skill is auto on rearguard circle. When it attacks or boosts, you may put a card from your soul face down as a Divine Gauge from this unit. So again, another easy way to get the Divine Gauges onto your units. And when the on place is also pretty good. When you have already used the Divine Gauge that you used on the on place, of course you will not be able to get it back, but this card will be able to generate more Divine Gauges as the game goes, and this will stay in the field. So that's pretty good. However, you can also choose to use the second skill, which is Act. Rearguard circle once per turn. Cost, discard one of this unit's Divine Gauges. Soul Charge 3, and if you have a Vanguard with Regalia in its card name, cost, retire this unit and counter charge 1. So it's pretty interesting that we get a counter charge unit on the one hand. On the other hand, I don't see that the Regalia deck will use that much counterblast. It will be mostly Yggdrasil and Norn, which are already very good uses of your counterblast, of course. But I don't think it will be that speedy. You will need the counter charge that much. However, it is a very, very nice option to have, of course. It's a little bit sad that it goes to that the cost is to retire it. I would have loved to put it in the soul, of course. Alas, you cannot have everything, I guess. The Soul Charge 3 is pretty nice. If you keep in mind that you will also use one soul to add the Divine Gauge to it. If you so choose to use it, then you will essentially Soul Charge 2, but again those Soul Charges will easily be used to add Divine Gauges to any of your other cards. So it has a little bit of versatility. You can choose which direction you want to go with this card. I always like that about cards. So that's that. And lastly, for the clan selection set, we will talk about the promo. Now, this has already been released in English. This is essentially a reprint, but it's still in there, so let's talk about it, because I do think it is very good. White Brush Witch Arctic. Auto, Vanguard Circle or Rearguard Circle. When placed, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck. Put 1 card from among them into your soul, and put 1 card from among them on the top of your deck. So the skill should be very familiar to Genesis players, because the grade 2 from the Cinnamon starter deck, Prometheus, also has the same skill. And I'm already was a big fan of that card. You know, it allows you to soul charge 1, but it will also allow you a little bit of OTT gameplay where you can manipulate the top of your deck in case it is a trigger, which is already good. And it also allows you to add either 1 of 2 cards that you want into your soul. It's not a big search, of course, but it can matter in certain decks, because it is also very, very playable in other types of decks like Fenrir. And then the second skill, auto rearguard circle once per turn. When your grade 3 or greater Vanguard attacks, one of your Vanguards and this unit gets power plus 5000 until the end of the turn. The fact that 2 units will get plus 5k is pretty neat. And of course, with the Regalia's option, you can do the Yggdrasil on rearguard and then add the force markers of riding to your Yggdrasil on rearguard, while keeping your new cards as a Vanguard, which is pretty nice because you want that card of Vanguard with 3 Vanguard skills. So adding a little bit of power on that is also very welcome. And of course, if you have multiple copies of this, each will trigger once per turn, but they do not have a hard once per turn. So if you have 2 of them, then your Vanguard gains 10k and each of them gain 5k, which is pretty nice. So those have been the new cards for the clan selection. These will come out in April, and by then I will have a look at how good the Regalia deck will be in actuality. So thanks for watching again. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and as always, comments. I love them. I want to read what you guys thinking, and I want to get that feedback. Maybe you can help me with some other stuff. I hope I have been able to help you out. So this has been Alex again, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.